Wedding night. The groom abandoned me to see his first love, so I walked straight into his brother's room. Who? A deep voice behind me made me jump. Marcus, don't turn on the light. I turned, accidentally bumping into his embrace, and felt his body instantly stiffen. Grace, he called out, unsure. Marcus, your brother abandoned me on our wedding night. Now, you owe me compensation. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. No one knew that just half an hour ago, my life had rebooted. Recalling my past life, the man I thought I'd spend my life with, Ethan, had an affair behind my back with his first love, Chloe. When I discovered this secret, he coldly suggested divorce. I vehemently refused, only to be met with deeper hurt. The next day, a sudden car accident left me covered in wounds, and excessive blood loss plunged me into endless darkness. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed, surrounded by cold medical equipment and the pungent smell of antiseptic. While I was unconscious, Chloe brazenly came to my bedside. Her face was alight with a victor's smile. Grace, did you really think him marrying you would change anything? He always comes back to me in the end. Do you know? On your wedding night, he was with me. Her words cut into my heart like a blade. And, 4 years ago, that fire? Ethan didn't save you. It was his brother, Marcus. To save you, Marcus suffered severe burns to his back, was in a deep coma, and it took him 2 full months to recover. As I listened, my fingers trembled slightly. I wanted to retort, but found I didn't even have the strength to speak. I arranged this car accident. Chloe's voice held a hint of triumph. Since you wouldn't agree to a divorce, I had no choice but to make you disappear forever. Grace, Ethan belongs only to me. At that moment, I trembled with rage, coughed up a mouthful of blood, and fell back into unconsciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that familiar wedding night. Everything seemed to be starting over, but this time I wouldn't let tragedy repeat itself. Watching the clock on the wall, the hands had silently moved to 10 o'clock. According to Ethan, his brother Marcus would be resting promptly at this hour. Ethan, since you chose to go find Chloe, don't blame me for taking advantage of the situation. A small idea formed in my mind: if you don't love me, then in this life, I'll go and win him over. Tomorrow, I'll go with you to file the divorce papers, then marry Marcus, and make you call me his wife. A cold smirk touched my lips at the thought. Opening the closet door, a pair of silk pajamas caught my eye, and my eyes immediately lit up. I had specially prepared these pajamas for our wedding night, originally intending to surprise Ethan. But now, it seemed that surprise was no longer necessary. I changed into the pajamas, turned off the bedroom light, and quietly walked to Marcus's room next door. The door opened easily, and for that, I had Ethan to thank. He'd told me his brother keeps his door unlocked. I moved along the wall, cautiously making my way to the bed. Just then, a deep, powerful voice echoed behind me. Who? I trembled all over. The voice seemed to have a magical quality, making my heart race. I slowly turned, only to accidentally bump into his arms. My face instantly flushed crimson, and my breathing grew rapid. His body stiffened slightly too, as if surprised by my unexpected visit. Marcus, I whispered. Grace, he responded, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. Yes, it's me, I replied softly. Marcus tried to push me away, but I held on to him tightly, refusing to let go. He sighed in resignation. Let go, I'm going to turn on the light. No. I quickly stopped him. What exactly are you doing? He asked in a low voice. Tonight is your wedding night with Ethan. Why are you in my room? I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and said, Marcus, your brother ran off to be with his first love. Since it's our wedding night, you'll have to make up for the rest of it. As soon as I finished speaking, Marcus's expression turned cold. What? Do you intend to use me as his substitute? I quickly shook my head, denying it. No, it's not like that. You are Marcus, you are just yourself. Marcus forcefully pried my hands open and pushed me out of the door. Just as he was about to close the door, I quickly slipped my hand inside. Ah! I screamed in pain. Seeing this, Marcus's expression changed slightly, and he immediately turned on the light. He pulled me into the room and carefully examined my hand. A flicker of worry crossed his eyes. Are you trying to get yourself killed? I was in too much pain to speak, only able to stare at him. Suddenly, he turned his head away and said in a low voice, Who told you to come in dressed like that? Do you know my parents are downstairs? It was then that I remembered my somewhat revealing attire. Seeing his reddened ears, I softly murmured, I wore it for you to see. From the moment I met Ethan, I already knew a bit about Marcus. He and Daniel were best friends and had even co-founded a company. And me? I'd been like a little tag-along following them since childhood. All this time, I thought Marcus held the same place in my heart as Daniel, but now, thinking it over carefully, it seemed there was always something different. My heart was set on marrying Ethan, a fixation that stemmed from a fire 4 years ago. That day, Daniel, Ethan, Marcus, and I went on a trip. That day, as we were dining on the first floor, a fire suddenly broke out in the restaurant. Everyone scrambled to get out, and I was knocked aside, unable to find Daniel. The fire was rapidly spreading right before my eyes when someone suddenly pushed me out, and I fell onto the ground outside the door. I didn't even catch a glimpse of their face. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the hospital, and to my surprise, Ethan was standing before me. Daniel had gone to handle the hospital bills, and only Ethan was there. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. "Did you save me?" I asked softly. He nodded and said, "It was me." So, I had always believed it was Ethan who saved me, until that near-death experience when I learned the truth. The one who saved me was Marcus. The man who seemed to love me had also learned to deceive. If it weren't for being given a second chance and Chloe's words before I died, I might have been fooled forever. "Grace, do you even know what you're saying?" Marcus's angry voice rang in my ears, pulling me back from my daze. I looked at him intently. "I understand." Marcus froze, seemingly not expecting me to face everything so calmly. I reached out to unbutton his shirt, wanting to confirm if the scars from saving me were still on his back. As soon as I thought it, I did it, lifting the edge of his shirt. But before I could even touch his skin, he tightly gripped my hand, his voice tinged with displeasure. "Grace, don't rush, just let me see." I stubbornly lifted his arm, my gaze fixed on a spot on his back, where gruesome scars remained, left from saving me. Moonlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains, dappling his back, and that faint mark made my heart tremble. Marcus's body subtly trembled at my action. He took a deep breath, seemingly trying to suppress his emotions. "Grace, are you out of your mind? Do you know what this means, doing this?" I looked up, meeting his eyes, which held confusion, anger, and a flicker of tenderness I almost missed. I smiled faintly, my finger gently tracing the scar, my voice soft. "I know. This scar, you got it saving me." Ethan lied to me. He said he saved me, and I believed him, but I was wrong, horribly wrong. Now, I want to atone for that mistake, and let you know that someone is willing to cherish everything you did for her. His gaze was unreadable, as if he were deep in thought. After a moment, he slowly spoke, his voice EP and magnetic. "Grace, are you doing this out of gratitude, or—" "No, it's not just gratitude. How did you find out it was me who saved you?" "I never mentioned it to anyone." "You're such an idiot, why didn't you say anything?" "Your brother, that big jerk, he impersonated you, why didn't you go beat him up?" I said, a hint of indignation in my voice. "Are you using foul language?" Marcus looked at me in surprise, seemingly not expecting such a reaction from me, who was usually so gentle. "Is that really your main concern? I'm asking you, do you secretly like me?" Even in my past life, I felt this man was too good to me, even better than Daniel. Hearing this, Marcus's eyes flickered, as if caught off guard by the sudden question. He let out a dry laugh, but the humor didn't reach his eyes, instead adding a touch of bitterness and helplessness. "Grace, you're always like this, able to play with hearts without even realizing it. If my kindness towards you truly became what you call secretly liking me, wouldn't my feelings be too humble?" His voice was low, with a barely perceptible tremor. My heart clenched. I'd never imagined my words would provoke such a strong reaction from him. I took a step forward, almost pressing against his chest, feeling his accelerated heartbeat and the hidden depth of his affection. "Marcus, I'm not playing games, and I'm not intentionally trying to upset you. It's just, I never thought anyone would treat me like this, other than Daniel. I've always remembered your kindness, but I was foolish, only understanding it now. I didn't want to tell him I had been given a second chance, so I decided to treat this as a fresh start." He lowered his head, his gaze deep, as if trying to see through me. "Grace, do you know that the human heart is the most unpredictable thing in this world? I once thought I could guard my heart, and not let it waver because of you, but now, it seems I can't." I raised my hand, gently covering his, feeling the warmth pulsing beneath his skin. "Marcus, give me a chance, and give yourself a chance. Let's start over. This time, let me protect you, okay?" He trembled slightly, seemingly moved by my words, a flicker of emotion in his eyes. But then, he regained his usual composure and restraint. "Grace, marriage is not a game. You and Ethan are already, he and I are already over. I cut him off, my voice firm. I came here tonight to tell you that tomorrow, I'm going to divorce him, and then, be with you. Nonsense. That would completely ruin your reputation. I'm not talking nonsense. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell Daniel and be upfront with my parents. Marcus's eyes were filled with shock. Are you crazy? Do you want to come with me now and see what Ethan is up to? Half an hour later, Marcus, that rascal, actually brought me out to find Ethan. Turns out Ethan even had a penthouse, and I hadn't even known. Marcus led me to ring the doorbell, and sure enough, Chloe opened the door. Seeing us, her face instantly changed, and she stammered, Marcus, why are you here? Marcus's face darkened, and his voice was chilling. Where's Ethan? I don't know, we haven't been in touch for ages. Oh really? Then why are you in his apartment? I retorted sarcastically. What kind of woman was this? How could I, having died once already, not know? Marcus said coldly, move aside. Hindered by Marcus's imposing presence, Chloe obediently stepped aside. Ethan, I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, I'll cut off all your credit cards. 1, 2. Sure enough, before Marcus even started counting to 3, Ethan stumbled out. He stammered, brother. Grace. I looked at his ludicrously mismatched clothes, his shirt buttons askew, his tie crooked, and his shoes on the wrong feet, all due to his panic. I watched the scene and sneered, what, Ethan? Having an affair? Ethan approached me step by step, muttering, Grace, let me explain. I pulled a chair over, sat down directly, and said blandly, go ahead and explain. I'm listening. Ethan stepped forward and grabbed my hand, but I shook him off. Don't touch me. By now, they were probably already together. Perhaps was even pregnant. Marcus's sharp gaze swept over Ethan. Is this what the estate taught you? Brother, Ethan, if you had told me you liked someone else, I wouldn't have forced you to marry me. But now, on our wedding night, you abandoned me to be with this woman. How little I meant to you. Ethan's face changed repeatedly. He murmured, Grace. Ethan, you don't need to say anything. She's your first love. It's normal that you can't forget her. Now, I just have one question for you. 4 years ago, were you the one who saved me? I stared intently into his eyes. Ethan froze, his eyes flickering, now bright, now dim. He glanced at Marcus, and in that look, there seemed to be an unspoken secret and struggle. He stammered, Grace, why are you asking this suddenly? Yes, it was me. I stated sternly. I'm asking you again, was it you? My voice echoed through the empty room, carrying a hint of coldness. He lowered his head, his voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz, softly mumbling, no. Those 2 words, softly spoken, unleashed a storm in my heart. I sneered, no? Then why did you say you saved me? Why did you lie to me? Because does Marcus get all the good things? Why does everyone acknowledge him and not me? Ethan roared, a stranger in that moment. Marcus's eyes subtly changed. He said flatly, so, you let her believe it was you who saved her? Yes, she's the Shin family's eldest daughter. Marrying her would elevate my status in the capital city. Smack. I stood up and slapped him, my voice unusually chilling. Ethan, you're a real jerk. I'll be waiting for you at the county's office tomorrow morning. After saying that, I turned to leave. He panicked, grabbing my arm and pleading, Grace, no, don't go. I was wrong, please don't do this. I forcefully shook him off and strode out. He tried to follow, but Marcus stopped him. I'll talk to our parents about this. The night was as dark as ink. A biting wind seeped through the half-open window, invading the chaotic room, as if trying to calm the turmoil in my heart. I pushed open the door and strode through the hallway, each step landing on the cold floor, yet it was nothing compared to the fraction of iciness in my heart. Ethan's shouts faded behind me until they were cut off by the heavy door, leaving only dead silence. I looked up at the night sky. The stars were sparse, like occasional flickers of conscience in complex human nature, faint and distant. The next morning, I unhesitatingly told his parents, who were equally shocked by the news. Margaret's face was filled with disbelief, as if she couldn't trust her ears. She reconfirmed, are you saying that Ethan not only had an affair, but that woman is also pregnant with his child? I nodded, my tone calm, yes. If you don't believe me, you can investigate it yourselves. But for me, it no longer matters. Today, I am divorcing him. At that moment, Daniel also arrived. I had called him beforehand to pick me up, knowing that once I decided on divorce, I couldn't stay in that place any longer. As for Marcus, I already had my own plans. Daniel's face was utterly grim. Seeing me, he took the suitcase from my hand and said in a low voice, if you'd listened to me earlier, none of this would have happened. Seeing him, I only felt guilt. In my past life, because I didn't listen to his advice, I never saw him again until my death. Seeing my eyes well up, Daniel couldn't bring himself to scold me further and softly said, "I'll take care of you from now on." Henry and Margaret disagreed with our divorce, but my mind was made up, no one could stop me. Marcus stopped them, stating calmly, "Ethan wronged Grace and did things that hurt her. Don't interfere in this matter." Daniel gave Marcus a strange look, one that held an indescribable emotion. Leaving Hayes, we soon arrived at the county's office. Ethan was already there, and to my surprise, Chloe had also tagged along. After getting out of the car, Daniel immediately kicked him. His voice was low and devoid of emotion. "Ethan, out of respect for Marcus, I won't hold this against you. Go sign the papers now, and don't ever see Grace again." "Brother." Shut up. "Who's your brother?" Ethan and I went straight in to process the divorce. The staff inside looked surprised, their gazes shifting between us. Finally, one couldn't help but ask, "Didn't you just get married? Why are you divorcing already?" I smiled faintly, my tone calm. "We're not compatible." These 3 words perfectly encapsulated my current mood, simple, direct, without unnecessary entanglement. Ethan remained silent, his gaze complex, as if he had 1,000 words he wanted to say but didn't know where to begin. Catching sight of his expression, a cold sneer involuntarily rose within me. I then kicked him and whispered, "Speak." He jolted, as if just snapping out of a trance. He opened his mouth, but only a low, hoarse sigh escaped. "Yes, we are not compatible." The staff looked at us, their eyes full of doubt and confusion, but their professionalism kept them from asking further questions. They mechanically began processing the paperwork. The divorce papers were quickly signed. I took the divorce decree, my heart completely calm. This wasn't just a divorce certificate, it was the end of a mistaken marriage between Ethan and me. Stepping out of the county's office, the sun was bright and the breeze gentle, yet I felt an emptiness in my heart. Daniel stood beside me, tightly holding my hand. His palm was warm and strong, as if silently telling me that everything was over. Ethan stood a short distance away, his silhouette stretched long in the sunlight, appearing especially lonely. Chloe followed behind him, her eyes full of triumph and provocation, but at that moment, I no longer cared about her presence. "Grace, let's go," Daniel said softly, his voice gentle. I nodded, turning to leave. Just then, Ethan suddenly called out to me, "Grace." I stopped, looking back at him, my eyes devoid of their former tenderness and affection, leaving only coldness and detachment. "Is there anything else?" I asked blandly. Ethan opened his mouth, as if to say something, but then hesitated. Finally, he just shook his head slightly and whispered, "Nothing. Take care." I smiled faintly and turned to leave. At that moment, I knew that between Ethan and me, it was truly over. "Ethan? Let's go." Ethan reverted to his usual coldness, silently thinking to himself, "Grace, what you don't know is, I truly did like you too." 3 days later, I met Marcus again. He was currently inspecting work at the Hayes' jewelry. Suddenly, he turned, looking at me, the emotions in his eyes obscured. I gave him a radiant smile. After I returned home that day, Daniel asked me, "Don't you think Marcus is acting strange?" I quickly shook my head, saying, "No, my brother is incredibly observant, too perceptive." I still didn't dare tell him anything. But now, since being given a second chance, I felt my courage had grown. I also knew that the land Daniel's company was bidding on was an abandoned project, so I told him to withdraw from the bidding. Sure enough, the next day, the person who won the bid for that land had an accident on site. I took out my phone from my bag and sent Daniel a text message. "Daniel, it's been a while since Marcus and I had dinner. How about we all have dinner together tonight? And then, I'd win him over. Are you alright? When did you start thinking about him so much? Just tell me if you'll come or not." "Fine, whatever you say. You're my little princess after all." That evening, we met at my place. Don't ask why, let's just say it's convenient for what I have in mind. When arrived, I was still in the kitchen preparing the meal. He seemed a bit surprised, saying to Daniel, "Since when could she cook?" Daniel glanced at the kitchen and smiled. "How should I know? She her mind today, insisted on having you over for dinner." Hearing this, Marcus's eyes subtly changed. He stopped talking and glanced towards the kitchen. Soon, I had prepared dinner. Plate after plate of visually appealing, fragrant, and delicious dishes shimmered with tempting luster under the soft lighting. Daniel gazed at the table full of delicacies, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Then his lips curved into a doting smile, and he praised, "I never thought our little princess could cook." You truly have hidden talents. Marcus's gaze swept across the table, finally settling on me. His eyes seemed to hold a subtle blend of tenderness and scrutiny. He nodded slightly, his voice deep and magnetic. Very well done. Visually appealing, fragrant, and delicious. Your cooking skills are clearly exceptional. I smiled faintly, secretly pleased, though mixed with a touch of nervousness. This dinner wasn't just to satisfy our appetites, it was a play I had meticulously staged. I secretly glanced at Marcus, trying to discern something from his calm and unruffled expression, but I could only see the faint glow of the lighting reflected in his deep eyes. At the dining table, the three of us ate and chatted, and while the atmosphere seemed relaxed and comfortable, I was incredibly nervous. Daniel occasionally served me food and also discussed work matters with Marcus. Suddenly, Daniel's phone rang. After answering, his expression subtly changed. After hanging up, he said, "Something urgent came up at the company. I need to leave now, you two take your time eating." After left, the atmosphere grew a little subtle. Marcus silently continued eating. I, however, couldn't sit still. "Marcus, He looked up, his gaze meeting mine. "Are you bothered that I'm divorced?" I decided to just come out and say it. His face darkened. "Don't talk nonsense. Or do you just not like me at all?" Impossible. After being given a second chance, I could feel that he liked me. Was I just imagining things? Marcus was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "I do like you, but what you feel for me might not be love. Don't confuse it." I stood up, walked around to stand in front of him, and then sat on his lap, causing his body to jolt. "Get off." No. That night, our relationship grew subtle, so much so that he eventually had to push me away and hastily flee. The next day, I directly confessed everything to Daniel. He was surprised at first, then quickly regained his composure. "Daniel, did you know that the one who saved me back then was actually Marcus?" Daniel froze, then sighed softly, "Yes. He was seriously injured at the time and didn't want you to know, fearing it would weigh on your mind." My heart clenched. Was he really seriously injured? "Yes, Grace. You were lucky, otherwise, it might have been you who got hurt." I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my cheeks, and choked out, "So, was it also true that he liked me? I always thought you could tell, but then Ethan came along. I wanted to tell you the truth back then, but Marcus wouldn't let me, fearing that if he died, you would be even more heartbroken." It was at this moment that I realized how thoughtfully that man had considered everything for me. After that day, Marcus kept avoiding me. Out of desperation, I decided to go to his company to find him. But as soon as I got downstairs to the company, I ran into Ethan. "Grace." I couldn't be bothered with him and intended to just pass by, but that rascal grabbed my arm. Furious, I stomped on his foot. "Let go of me." In my past life, I never saw this big rascal act like this. He was practically eager to divorce me. "Grace, listen to me. I regret it, I regret it. I love you, I love you." Ethan's words struck me as ridiculous. "Oh really? You love me, but you left me alone on our wedding night to be with your first love? You love me, but you let your first love get pregnant with your child?" Ethan froze, hearing this, and mumbled, "Grace, I'm a normal man. You said you could only give yourself to me after we were married, but, Ethan, is that your goddamn excuse?" I yelled furiously. I never expected him to say such a thing. I should be grateful I never gave myself to him. "Grace, are you cursing at me? Who the hell else would I curse at if not you? Who do you think you are? A stud who only thinks with his lower half?" Ethan's face changed, and the hand he had just reached out was grabbed. I looked up and, to my surprise, saw someone. "You're not avoiding me anymore?" Marcus's face was grim, and his voice was icy. "Get out. Don't make me use force." "Marcus, you and Grace?" Ethan looked at my expression as if he suddenly understood something. "Grace, is this your reason for divorce? You've fallen for my brother? Have you two been together all along?" I immediately slapped him across the face with the back of my hand and sneered, "Watch your mouth. And yes, I have fallen for Marcus. So what? Is that not allowed? I'm single now, isn't it okay if I like him?" Marcus's eyes seemed to hold a hint of amusement, as if wondering when this woman had become so vibrant. With a gentle tug, I stood firmly by his side, shoulder to shoulder, like two insurmountable barriers isolating Ethan. "Grace, let's go." Marcus's voice was low. I nodded, following behind him, a sense of peace I'd never felt before swelling in my heart. Ethan tried to say something else, but Marcus coldly cut him off. "Enough. Go home and reflect." Ultimately, Ethan was shamefully escorted back to the estate by Marcus's bodyguard. This encounter exposed the relationship between Marcus and me. After and Margaret learned about it, their reaction was extremely strong. In the end, I could only follow Marcus back to the estate once more. Henry's face was ashen, his eyes filled with disappointment and fury. Marcus, how could you get involved? Why? Grace? She was Ethan's wife, and even though they're divorced now, this is completely improper. Margaret was crying uncontrollably. Marcus, how could you do such a thing? Grace, she's a child we watched grow up, but now, this situation, what are we supposed to do? I stood in front of Marcus and said to them, I was the one who pursued him. I'm the one who loves him, it has nothing to do with him. We were at a stalemate for a long time, and Henry and Margaret still wouldn't acknowledge our relationship. Marcus had no choice but to drive me home. Sitting in his car, I whispered, I'm sorry, there's nothing to be sorry for. After being given a second chance, I noticed he had become much colder towards me. I wondered if it was my imagination, or if I hadn't tried hard enough. Marcus, let's take things to the next level. The moment I said it, the car instantly stopped, and he stared at me in a daze. I unbuckled my seatbelt and slowly leaned closer to him, gently pressing my lips against his. Marcus froze, his pupils constricting abruptly in disbelief. Seeing no reaction from him, I was about to pull away when he suddenly took the lead, kissing my lips fiercely. The kiss was passionate and deep, carrying his usual dominance, yet also holding a long-suppressed affection and yearning. It was as if he wanted to pour all his emotions into this single kiss. That long-suppressed feeling completely broke free at that moment, surging like a tidal wave. After a long while, he finally released me, his voice low and hoarse. Grace, if you get any closer, I can't guarantee what I'll do to you. Whatever you want to do is fine. That night, he took me to his penthouse and kept me up late. I don't know what he told Daniel. I only remember Daniel sending me a message that instantly sobered me up. Grace, well, you know, but remember to use protection. 3 months later, holding the pregnancy test results, I was a little dazed. Pregnant? Marcus and I had definitely used protection, so why was I pregnant? He clearly said he wouldn't let me have children for a while. I quickly called Marcus, unaware that he was currently in a meeting. When he answered, I cried, Wah! Marcus, you rascal, you lied to me again. You said I wouldn't get pregnant. Why am I pregnant? Didn't you use protection? The people in the conference room were in pin-drop silence, wide-eyed, listening to this bizarre scene unfold. Marcus, usually composed and calm, instantly tensed up. Baby, where are you? At the hospital. Stay put, I'm coming right away. Watching the man rush out, the people in the conference room murmured in surprise. Holy cow! Mr. Hayes has this side to him? You scared me to death. I thought my phone was ringing. Oh my God! What a privilege to witness this side of Mr. Hayes. Meanwhile, Daniel, at the other end of the conference room, smiled watching the scene, softly murmuring, Marcus, so this is your day. Hospital hallway. Seeing the man rushing towards me, I wiped my tears and glared at him angrily. Tell me, how did I get pregnant? Marcus let out a dry chuckle. My fault, sweetheart. Don't you want our baby? I wanted to enjoy a couple of years before having kids. They say you lose your looks after having a baby. My darling will always be the most beautiful. We'll have our wedding first, and then you can properly rest during pregnancy. Your parents, I was still worried, their relationship had only just begun to thaw. Marcus pinched my cheek and chuckled softly. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. Just relax and wait to be my bride. Marcus, do you regret it? I was afraid he'd regret being with me again. Marcus said earnestly, Grace, my dictionary contains no room for regret. There is only my love for you. A month later, our wedding took place in a solemn chapel. He told me he chose the chapel because it represented his commitment to me. It was formal and sacred. I didn't know how he convinced his family, especially Ethan, to attend our wedding, but at that moment, I only had eyes for him. I walked towards him, arm in arm with Daniel. Ever since our parents passed away in a car accident when I was 3, Daniel became the most important person in my life. As we drew near, Daniel gently placed my hand in his and said with a firm gaze, She's my only sister. If you dare treat her badly, don't blame me for disregarding our brotherly bond. He chuckled softly, his eyes full of tenderness. I won't even have enough time to cherish her. How could I bear to let her suffer any wrong? Inside the chapel, soft lighting bathed us, adding a touch of warmth and romance to the solemn moment. I looked up at him, his deep eyes glowed with a resolute light, reflecting only my image. The priest began to read the marriage vows, each word resonating in our hearts, reminding us to make an eternal commitment in the name of love. When it was our turn to exchange vows, His voice was deep and strong. I do. In prosperity and adversity, in sickness and in health, I will love her, respect her, and protect her wholeheartedly, until the end of my life. I tightly squeezed his hand and softly replied, I do. In prosperity and adversity, in sickness and in health, I will love him, respect him, and cherish him wholeheartedly, until the end of my life. After the wedding, he took me to Paris, where we began our honeymoon. On first night as a married couple, after our passion, I confessed my secret of being given a second chance to him. He was shocked at first, but quickly held me tight and whispered, Grace, I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth sooner. I later learned that for me, he had given up a lot, even transferring his shares in the family business to Ethan and promised not to interfere in family affairs. Ethan eventually brought Chloe back to the estate, and soon after, Chloe birthed to a daughter. I told him I didn't want to live in the same space as them, so he bought a private villa next to Daniel's house, creating a cozy home just for us. My happy life was just beginning, and I believed that in the days to come, we would be even happier and sweeter together. Thank you for reading today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.